Yes, yes, ma'am. Welcome to this session on understanding employment relation and its emerging trends. I am Professor B.D. Singh from IMT Ghaziabad. In fact, no subject in human relations management is as much misunderstood as the subject of employment relation, or popularly known as industrial relations. When we talk about industrial relations, generally we talk about resolution of conflict, we talk about handling a strike, lockouts, dismissal, retrenchment, etc. It's all negative, ad hoc, adversarial things that we talk. I'm not telling that they are not the part of employment relation either, but this is only a part. The whole truth is different than that, and I'll try to explain to you the total concept of employment relations. Employment relation is culture of working together in industry. When I talk about culture of working together, it means when we are coming out to industry, we have to relate ourselves with somebody else. Maybe the employee has to relate with the employer, or employer has to relate with the employee. This is true in our personal life also. We have to relate with our parents, we have to relate with our spouses, we have to relate with our friends, and vice versa. Therefore, in industry this phenomenon is not unique or peculiar one. This is same as it happens in our private and social life. But when it comes to industry, it becomes more accentuating in the sense that our relationships are governed by certain standards, certain rules, certain paradigms which are set by the industrial society or the organization where we are working. The moment we developed a relationship, and that relationship is based on basically the principle of seeking cooperation. We need employer, employer need employee. The capital in itself cannot produce goods and services unless it has the help of labor. Same way, labor cannot be of any relevance unless capital is coupled with that. Therefore, cooperation is the main basis. But there is hardly, or there is absolutely no relation where there is no conflict. Therefore, conflict is inherent, universal and inevitable in all the relationships. Actually, what happens when we go to our industrial context, the cooperation aspect gets lost, and we start emphasizing on only the resolution of conflict. It's not that the resolution of conflict is not important. It's very important, it's very immediate, and therefore we pay our attention, more of attention on resolution of conflict. But building cooperation is more difficult and more important than resolving conflict. The main emphasis of any relationship is cooperation. Conflict is incidental, but universal and inevitable, and that is there in all the relationships. What I say, building cooperation requires tremendous amount of patience, tremendous amount of nurturing, tremendous amount of developing efforts, which is time consuming, which is also painstaking, which is also costly, and all that. Unless we do it on sustained basis, on the principles of transparency, fairness, motivation, communications, leadership, we cannot be able to build a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, a sense of fulfilling, which is very much necessary for energizing the whole work culture. Therefore, the building of cooperative culture, which I call it synergizing culture or positive work culture or positive industrial relations, require all positive and intrinsic efforts that are required to be made for building that. The bridges of trust are required to be built, and only then healthy industrial relations get built. I would like to devote some time on resolution of conflict, because conflict is the main thing as we have been knowing so far about resolution of conflict. When we talk about conflict, conflicts are of two types. It is interpersonal conflict, where dyadic relations is there, where two employer and employees meet together, and there is a relationship, and that relationship is determined by the terms of employment and conditions of service that is given to the employees. This is true in all the employment scenario. May that be government, may that be industrial workmen, may that be managers. Another the thing that I would like to just touch upon is that when we talk about industrial relations, the traditional industrial relations, perhaps we do not have managers in our view, as if the conflict that emanates from managerial associations or between two groups of managers are not the aspects of industrial relations. But when we work in industry and when we talk in the parlance of industry, everything that disturbs, that creates conflict, whether it's a workmen or managers, everything is supposed to be covered under the ambit of industrial relations. So individual the conflicts are determined by terms of employment, conditions of service, and that we talk about employment relationship between two dyads, two individuals, employer and employee, master and servant. That I will be talking in the next session perhaps, when we talk about how does an employer manage the discipline of the employment, and vice versa. How does the employee expect the employer to resolve his grievances that occur out of the employment terms and conditions that will be there. That will be there when I talk in the next session possibly. Therefore, I am moving to intergroup or inter-organizational conflict, because organizations do not work individually. Generally they work in teams, departments, groups and all that. Actually what happens, or what happened in the past, or even today it is happening, employer is mighty, stronger, and when individual joins as individuals in the industry, individual employee in the industry, he is not being able to match with the might, intellectual might, financial might, any might of the employer. Therefore, he is not in position to bargain effectively with the employer. He becomes vulnerable, and wheresoever vulnerability comes, another phenomenon takes place, that we try to move beyond individual and try to move with dyadic relations and inform groups. The principle is that of individually we are dispensable, but collectively we are indispensable. Employer can remove one or two or three of the employees, but when it comes to removing the whole lot of it or majority of the employee, it becomes difficult for him, and that compels him to sit down, consider the problems of the employees and resolve it. This place that the an institution known as trade union comes. Association is a survival need of the employees. For that matter, it is survival need of anybody, animals or individuals. It is survival need for employers as well. Otherwise, FICCI and association, the employer association would not have been formed. Therefore, the individuals form associations, which generally we call it trade unions. The managers also form, the bureaucrats also form that association, and they are known by different nomenclatures. And this is what I called it the intrinsic need, and this is what I call it is a fundamental right of every individual. Every individual society gives this right to its employees and citizens, and in India we have also this right. This has also been ensured and given to us by ILO conventions, where we can, and the employees are required to form the association and have a forum known as collective bargaining, where they can discuss the issue where the divergence or the difference of opinion is there. When we talk about industrial dispute, of course, that is obvious that industrial disputes are collective in nature. Individual dispute, barring dismissal, discharge and all that we'll be talking in the next session, are not part of industrial dispute. And when we talk about industrial dispute, two more institutions required to be mentioned over here very briefly, with a second or two. One is the institution of collective bargaining, and another one is the institution of strike and lockout. When there is differences by collective, the collectives give the dispute to the employer, and employer is required or supposed to call the group of workmen or employees, or if there is a trade union, the trade unions. And if they fail to call, if they do not call, or anything different happens, the weapon of a strike is given in the hands of workmen, and the weapon of lockout is given in the hands of employer. So these are the two instrumentally which are required to be mentioned over here. What happens that in the process of transacting their business, the employer wants to control, guide, direct, motivate human resources, and while doing it, naturally, it has to face the reactions from the workers. Maybe individual the workmen, or maybe the group of workmen known as trade unions or associations, whatsoever may be the form. And those actions and interactions of organizations are governed by law of the land, and those laws of the land and relationships are also subject to interpretation by judicial system of our country. Here I would like to mention to you that in our country we have three basic laws which regulates the employment relations. One is Trade Union Act 1926, much before independence. Another one is the Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946, and the third one and the most important is the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, 1st of April 1947. So all these three laws are pre-independent law, and so much of changes have taken place. Therefore, these laws are required to be revamped and totally replaced, made simple to be understood by people who are required to be governed by it, especially the workmen. But I do not know why it is not being done, despite the fact that everybody is raising hue and cry. But these are the three legislations which govern the employment relations. Much more important is the role of Indian judiciary, which is very laudable one, especially High Court and Supreme Court, especially the Supreme Court, which gives directions and guidance in different apex issues. Because of paucity of time, let me now immediately come to about the changing profile of employment relations. Employment relation is a highly complex and complicated issues, telling that these are the factors which impact on it will be really not correct. But all those factors may be economic, may be political, may be technological, may be market forces, both local or domestic or global, they all impact on it. And industrial relations developed a profile. Industrial relations, by the way, does not have a profile of its own. It assumes the profile as per the pulls and pushes of market forces. As it happens in physical science, water does not have its shape, and water gravitates and seeks its level. The same principle is applicable on the profiles, emerging profile of employer relations, where it is market forces which determines its shapes and size. Let me give you the example of these two. India, immediately after post-independence, India adopted a policy, market policy, which was controlled, regulated and protected one. It means all industrial activities, all business activities, all labor activities were controlled and protected and regulated by government. Therefore, the market was very dormant, inert, slow moving. Industrial relation was also the same. It was almost slow moving. It was all the dormant type. It's all litigation oriented, all strike and lockout oriented, because the market was not requiring the aggressiveness that was required, the speed that was required, the movement that was required, the quality that was required. Whatsoever was industry producing was getting sold in the market. Whatsoever the laborers were demanding, government adopted the policy of what we call it, protecting the labor. Labor was treated as more sacred than cow. That was the stance. But after 1992, the whole scenario had changed, especially in 21st century. We have moved from CRP economic to liberalized, privatized and globalized economy. Our industrial setup is totally liberalized. Our industries are getting privatized. It is open to private parties, both the Indian and FDIs. It is global in the sense that things are available at the same time everywhere, at the same time, and therefore today the hallmark of business and industry is competition. Unless you are competitive, when I talk about competition, I talk about competitiveness in the mindset. When I talk about competition, I talk about competition in all respect, competition in quality, competition in cost, competition in services, and you have to compete with the multinationals, the global players. Therefore, you have to set your standard or benchmarking on par with the international standard. And unless you do all that, your survival is at stake. You cannot leave aside excelling and beating your competitor. You will die down. And we see what has happened in these 8, 10, 12 years. Many of the big industries, so-called big industry of yesterday, have collapsed and become part of history. Very sweepingly, I'll be touching you the changing profiles of business and industry. Today's we are living in post-industrial society. Let me quote Alvin Toffler's third wave. You are having the sunrise industry, IT industry, ITSs, telecom, hotel industry, healthcare services, insurance, retailing, private banking, pharmaceuticals, etc., which were unheard of earlier. Their requirements are entirely different than the manufacturing sector or traditional sector, as we call it. The industries like BPOs, KPOs are mushrooming, and all these industries require knowledge worker. Where more than skill, we require knowledge, and you know the difference between mere skill and mere skill is know what, know how, and knowledge and skill is know how and know what also. So all those things are required to be known, and therefore such workers' expectations and aspirations are different than the traditional fitters, welder, rigger type of workers. Shrinking organized sectors. Organized sectors are shrinking. Unorganized sector, of course, I mean organized sector in the urban area, like say the cyber cafe, maybe the telephone booths, maybe many others such the unorganized sectors have come, which were not unheard of earlier, and many workers are there. Traditional manufacturing industries are also having different types, they are facing different types of employee relations problem. Gone are the days when we used to only fight for bonus and wages. Today, it's a technological upgradation, the change management and its impact on industry, making the worker redundant and surplus, restructuring and right sizing, which makes the workers again redundant and surplus. The investments and mergers and acquisitions, these are some of the new problems that the traditional manufacturing industries are facing. Entirely today we do not have the same structured type of organization. We are living in virtual organization. Hardly we are having any structured type of organization, and after 20 to 30 years that I foresee, things will be exactly what I'm talking like that. Employers' profile is changing. Employers are mostly multinational, profession driven, competitive mindset, no nonsense. They pay well, they want work to be done well. That is the philosophy. Employees' profile is also changing. No more only the blue collar employee. Today, white colored employee, they have also been replaced by pink colored employees, female workers, multi-ethnic and multicultural workforce, migrant labor, contract labor. These are the same scenario. The new actors in employment relations have come. ILOs, WTO, World Bank. And when I say I like to draw the attention of my viewer towards the requirement of WTO and core convention of ILO, by which lakhs of our say carpet workers or the sari making workers or firework workers, they have all become redundant and all that. Government is also changing its stance from controller to facilitator. Of course, government is thinking to do whatsoever may be the political affiliation of government, maybe BJP or this NDA and all that. But all of them want to play the role of a facilitator. They want to move away from the role of controller, and that is reflected in many of their documents and their intention. SCJ's controversy is a very recent one that we all know, but they have not been able to do much, though they are trying to do. I'll be just reading and I'm hurriedly rushing up because time is going to be short. But let me tell you, the whole scenario of workplace is changing. workplace practices are changing. Instead of taking the permanent worker, today we are outsourcing in place of self-sourcing, casualization of workplaces, contract labor, networking, outsourcing. Those are the things. Hiring the facilities. Today nobody wants to keep a fleet of cars. Today nobody wants to have a canteen service of its own. They are all available in providing better quality, maybe even competitive rate, let me not a cheaper rate. So whole lot of facilities have come. Use of electronic gadgets, PCs, SMS, email, internet, fax, video conferencing. These have removed many of the irritants that used to be in the office system that we have worked lifelong. Changing work system like TQM, TPM, CAM, JEET, CIM, all those are changing look of offices, transparent offices, smart office. When I talk about all that, of course, there has not been much of, let me tell you, those things are looking up, but change in mindset has not been there. Offices have become smart, offices have become transparent, but management is still remains closed, and there are frictions are there. I will be talking in some next slide there. The working today, we are not talking about 8 hours work. We are talking about 24 multiplied by 7 by 365. This is the work culture that we are talking about. Paperless office, or at least less paper office. All those are reality today. E-document and office softwares are available. We do not require any clerk for issuing leave order. They are all there. We do not require big offices of our own, intelligent offices where we can go work for some time as per the pre-arrangement, pack up our things and go. Those things are all there. The working patterns are flexi timing, flexi working, flexi payment, all flexibility type of systems are coming. Changing employment pattern that I have already talked, lifelong employment is being replaced by part-time working, home working, teleworking, shared working or shared working as we call it. Wife and husband or two friends working together or things like that, because the employer is interested in work done and not who is doing. Variable pay, changing variable pay, you understand, not that assured payment is there. Assured payment has been the demand of the union, but only 2-3 days back I was reading that there has been change in C2, Mr. Pandey's statement that if basics, dearness, etc. are assured, he does not mind going for incentive based on variable pay and all that. But variable pay concept is entirely different. That is something different. That new employment packages like ESOPs, gain sharing, profit sharing are coming. Now the benefits and welfare schemes are not the same uniform for everybody. All managers, all feeders getting the same thing. It's all cafeteria, it's all a la carte system type of things that are there. Social security and insurance is the premium today, because we want that after we retire or we meet with some accident, there must be some guarantee for our, those are the concern of the employer. New crop of workers want to share power and responsibility, that I'll be talking again after some time. Let me 15 minutes time devote on emerging trends of and issues. Gentlemen, having talked all those, let me tell you that industrial relations today is on crossroad. Unprecedented pressure on industrial relations. That was meant for, as I talked to you, CRP economy, where economy was closed and everything was protected and all that. It was slow, reactive, ad hoc, passive, strike, gherav, collective bargain, litigations. These were the themes. Today, we are, of course, we have discussed previously, We are in the age where only competition is the name of the game. If you want to compete in World Cup cricket, we cannot have the rules of Gulli Danda. We have to have modern astudia, we have to have modern mindset, we have to have all modern rules. Only then perhaps we will be able to compete. Still, there is a tug of war going on between the trade unions. Of course, there has been some change in the trade union mind, and also the employers, that there should be breakthrough in the status quo that is there, or inertia that is there. But not much has been done. Let me tell you, not much has been done. It requires another forum to talk to you as to who is to be blamed. I'm not blaming trade unions entirely. I have seen both the world, and I know unions are, of course, holding the progress, of course, holding the reforms in labor laws and all that, but that is not for nothing. Let me tell you here that if there is no law applicable, who will ensure that the employees or workmen, today workmen is demeaning, nobody wants to call anybody workmen today, they are known as associates or whatsoever nomenclature you give, who will ensure that they are treated fairly, they are given their due, they are given respect that they deserve. That requires a bit of debate, and then there has to be so much of talk that we are talking about liberalization. So, gentlemen, but one thing remains: the market forces require that speed, quickness, responsiveness, customers' delight, customers' need. They are the requirement of the day, and that will be possible only when there is no nonsense type of activities. Because actually I have worked all through my life along with unions, all shades of unions, and believe me, they used to heckle us, they used to stop us, they used to, and in a sense, even today the profile of the trade union that has gone to the society is that of a nonsense organization. But the trade union has also to reform themselves, and that's why most of the employers are trying to talk about non-unionism, or they are talking about individual bargaining, and we will talk about this a bit detail sometimes later. The employers are having aggressive approach towards trade unionism and management of employment relations. Aggressive means because the market is aggressive, the requirement is cannot wait for anything, and therefore rightly they have to do that. There are basically two types of approaches and strategies that they adopt. One strategy is known as what the academicians call it bleak house approach, another what they call it happy house approach. Bleak out approach is where the employer try and go out of way to stop the unions, emergence of union in the organizations by hook or by crook. The example we have seen 2-3 years back in Gurgaon, Honda's factory, in Bangalore, Toyota factory. That is not desirable, sir, because by any international standard, whether it's ILO or WTO, or by Indian standard, our fundamental rights, forming association and discussing the issue is workers' fundamental rights. Nobody can, and employers should not try to do that. The happy house approach is a laudable approach, where non-unionism is there. Here, the role of HR professional increases. HR professionals have to play a part, of the role of the trade unions. They have to ensure and they have to see as to why people go to the unions. They have to ensure that everything that are required to be to make the workers work effectively are made. And I am associated with some of such associations, especially Moser Beer, and I know why such a big organization like Moser Beer, having 2 factories here in Noida and Greater Noida, they are not having any trade unions. They ensure to it that the workers are given right to speak. They ensure to it that their grievances are redressed. It's ensured that their transport is cozy one. It's ensured that they are given good food. It's ensured that their remunerations are commensurate with others. That is the things that are required to be done. Here the HR person does not operate through a union. He operates directly to the HR, to the employee, and this is a desirable trend that is emerging, and that is one that I'll support. Otherwise, also the trade union as a movement all through the world is declining. In India also it is declining. The declining in the requirement of the skilled workers. Skilled workers are being replaced by knowledge workers. Knowledge workers I have just touched upon, and again I will be touching upon, are those workers which also knows why and not only what and how. Therefore, they are educated people, and they have the different types of expectation, different types of aspiration, different types of requirement, and they are to be addressed to. They are required to be met to. The investment and privatization and VRS, these are now accepted norms that are there. The changing pattern of compensation and reward management, fixed and assured time wages are being replaced by variable and performance wage. Performance-based wages, which is known as variable pay, as I briefly touched upon in the previous lecture, that is a requirement of the day. Because if everybody gets equal to, even those who are not a performer, gets equal to a performer, that performers become non-performer. Therefore, performer has a premier over any other thing, and that requires to be encouraged. That has to be there. It's not like public sector. I belong to public sector, where everybody was getting the same pay. Every fitter grade 1 or fitter grade 2 will be getting everything. Every manager will get everything. That has not to be there. Those who are contributing to the wealth of the wealth of the company or organization should naturally be given share in the wealth of the company. That is the thing that is required to be done. Job security is to be replaced by employability. Actually, even today, the unions are fighting for job security. What may come, but the job of the workers must not go. That was the thing in the past. Today that is not the requirement, because so much of changes are taking place. So swift are the changes, so much of technological changes, that people become redundant. And unless that redundancy is taken care of, unless the workers try to adapt themselves to the requirement, it will be very difficult. And today what has happened, the employers are not assuring, they are not assuring the job security. They are not security, the wage security. They are security one thing, that whosoever is working with them are employable anywhere in the market. And that is, today market is also full of jobs. There is no dearth of jobs in the market today. And therefore, if a workman or a associate or an employee is removed from one job, immediately he moves to another job that is required to be there. Coming to pro-labor stance of government, let me tell you that when I started my career in 60s, early 60s, it was labor and nothing else. Labor was touch me not type of activity, and it used to make news if something was being done to the labor. Government was all out to help labor, but today that is fading away. That is getting reduced. The government is also now knowing that it is not necessary, it is not a requirement of the business to be pro-workers all the time. It is also, government is also taking a stance that they need not be pro-employer. The government is trying to have a stance of pro-business. Pro-business means it's a business that gives us bread to both employer, so as an employer and employee, and their business must be not only protected, must not only be continued, but must be enhanced. That has to be there, and government is trying. Of course, one example is that the reference of second pay commission on labor, that is there, but reference remain a reference. The recommendations remain a recommendation. That has to be seen. Another is CEJ that I have already mentioned. Let me come, because time is short. Let me tell you first about the new players that I have told you. Industrial relations, traditional player used to be the employee and trade union and government. Today, WTO is the employer, the society is the employer, NGOs are the employer, Greenpeace are the employer. These are all employers. Last but most important will be judiciary. Change in the mindset of judiciary. Gone are the days of the Krishna days when everything was interpreted in social justice and social natural justice perspective. Today is a business perspective which are taking the toll. We have seen the judgment in cases of a strike. We have seen the judgment Tamil Nadu government case. We have also seen the judgment in cases of others, and we have seen that government, the judiciary is also having pro-business stand than pro-labor stand. Thank you very much.